Good evening, I'm Emma Mayer.
And I'm Aiden Crowley. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Hurricane Ian continues to push its way across Florida, leaving behind a path of devastation.
Newswatch lead forecaster Aaron Ashley has the latest on the hurricane and where it's going next. Aaron, what more can we expect from this storm?
So this storm has actually weakened since hitting Florida, because what had happened is that once it hits land, it locks away, its moisture source, had really been cut off, but since then it has crossed into the Atlantic Ocean and has since gotten a little bit stronger actually. And so again, if you look at my live radar, you can see right now we are tracking that hurricane moving towards, again, the continental United States, with the eye just hovering around Daytona Beach. And we're actually going to go ahead and pull up what the track has been, and you can kind of see with the radar how it's progressed. It hit western Florida right down here in Cape Coral as a Category 4 with maximum winds at 155 miles per hour. And since it hit land, it dropped down and weakened a little bit all the way to a tropical storm before crossing the eastern border of Florida and hitting that Atlantic Ocean. Again, that warm sea surface temperatures is what is causing this storm to really intensify once again. And you can see right here, it is considered a hurricane again. And if we pull up the forecast cone, you can see that it is aiming to hit the continental United States once again. And so if you are along the eastern United States, expect hazards such as storm surge to really impact your area. I'll have more on this storm in my full forecast, but for now, back to you, Aiden.
Thanks, Aaron. And as Aaron mentioned, Tropical Storm Ian continues to creep across Florida and is expected to strengthen back into a hurricane before it makes landfall in South Carolina on Friday. Gloria Pasmino reports from Fort Myer in Florida.
There's really no words that I can say to tell you what I've seen. The Fort Myers beach area, buildings, major homes and buildings completely washed away with vehicles in the water, vehicles in the bay, boats are upside down.
Tied as the fourth most powerful hurricane to hit the Sunshine State, Ian blasted ashore Wednesday, just shy of a Category 5 storm.
The amount of water that's been rising and will likely continue to rise today, even as the storm is passing, is basically a 500-year flood event.
Residents now getting their first glimpse at the scope of the damage.
Very flooded, it's ruined, completely ruined. The fridge is on the floor, the couches are turned upside down, the toilets are on the floor.
Many residents still trapped in their homes.
You kind of find yourself in a position where you're totally powerless.
With dozens of houses still underwater, search and rescues are now underway.
We currently have aircraft in the air with the Florida National Guard actively pulling people off of roofs in Fort Myers.
And as Ian continues its destructive march across Florida, parts of the East Coast are getting pummeled.
This is my community, this is my home. It's not only for my pain, it's for everybody's pain. I'm terrified for everybody. It's not only all our trailers, it's half of Cape Coral, it's half of everywhere.
In Fort Myers, I'm Gloria Pasmino reporting.
We are just beginning to get an understanding of the extent of the catastrophic damage left in Florida in the wake of Hurricane Ian. Agencies at every level are working to get assistance where it is needed. Mike Valerio has more on these efforts.
Everything's flooded, everything is ruined.
As Floridians begin to survey the damage left in the wake of Hurricane Ian, the Federal Emergency Management Agency jumps into action.
We're focused right now on getting some search and rescue teams who have been out since 4 o'clock this morning to get into that area and identify who might need assistance.
FEMA, the U.S. Coast Guard, and other entities are working by land, air, and sea.
Coast Guard deployed 16 rescue helicopters, 6 fixed-wing aircraft, and 18 rescue boats and crews.
President Joe Biden promising the full support of the federal government after attending a briefing at FEMA headquarters.
We've dispatched over 1,000 FEMA personnel and pre-positioned major federal capacities and capabilities and supplies.
And approving a major disaster declaration for the state.
That means the federal government will cover 100% of the cost to clear debris and for all the costs that the state has to engage in and expend to save lives.
The declaration also makes federal aid available, including grants to help individuals and business owners in 9 counties recover from the effects of the disaster. Help desperately needed for the families displaced by Hurricane Ian.
We are preparing for the potential of thousands of families that are going to need assistance.
While many Florida residents are heading north to flee Hurricane Ian, 47 Ohioans are heading into the epicenter of the storm. Ohio Task Force 1 are currently in Florida preparing to assist search and rescue units. The commander of Task Force 1, Jack Rial, says that the members are now waiting for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to give them the go-ahead to assist with search and rescue and cleanup from the damage.
The Nelsonville Water Department shuts off all water services for parts of the region earlier today. The Door Run Road and West Washington Street intersection, plus all of Door Road, Wen Road, Diamond Brick Road, Scenic Lane, and Ohio Health Urgent Care, water was shut off starting at 9 this morning. The shutoff lasted approximately 5 hours. The water outage is due to crews tying in a new water line, and the boil order is until Friday at 3 p.m. once the water is restored. 3 people were arrested in connection with a kidnapping case that left 2 men badly beaten in Wheelersburg. Scioto County Sheriff David Thurman tells WSAZ that investigators were brought into the case Tuesday morning when deputies were notified about a man covered in blood walking along State Route 140. That man told deputies he and another man were taken to a home along Ainsley Avenue, tied up and repeatedly beaten. Detectives obtained a search warrant for the Ainsley Avenue home. 3 individuals ranging from ages 18 to 25 were arrested for kidnapping, tampering with evidence, and felonious assault. The sheriff said more charges are possible. Senators passed a spending bill to keep the government open till December. Plus, researchers warn a worldwide recession could be on its way. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
It's one of the most challenging viruses scientists have ever faced.
HIV is very clever. The virus can mutate where medication stops working.
After decades of innovations,
the science that's developed is remarkable.
Can we finally end the epidemic?
That is what I want to see in my lifetime, and I absolutely know I can.
Ending HIV in America.
We have the tools to stop it. Let's do it.
On Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
This street drove America toward revolution. This street fueled Western expansion. And this street paved the way for the shopping mall. Take a cross-country road trip on a historic highway. Walk a former Native American road. And hitch a ride on a 200-year-old toll road. 10 streets that changed America.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
As long as you were with other GIs, you figured, well, they can handle it, I can handle it. You just keep moving ahead.
Well, sweets, your daughter is okay. I still kiss her every night for her daddy. I pray you'll be safe and home soon.
The War.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Next time from Antiques Roadshow, travel back to Palm Springs, California.
It's from Marilyn Monroe, and she wore it in the film Some Like It Hot.
This is an iconic dress from an iconic film.
Oh, there's no way.
I have to say, in all my years on the roadshow, it's probably the most exciting find I've had.
Can the values of our Desert Oasis finds stand the test of time? Find out next time on Antiques Roadshow Vintage Palm Springs, Hour 1.
Monday at 8 on WOUB.
The Senate passed a bill today allowing the short-term measure to keep federal agencies operating through mid-December, along with providing Ukraine with more than $12 billion in economic and military aid.
This is known as the stopgap bill. The 237-page resolution was initially unveiled on Monday. West Virginia Senator and Democrat Joe Manchin is also proposing the acceleration of federal reviews in energy and natural resource projects in this document.
We must work fast to finish the process here on the floor, send a CR to the House, and then send it to the President's desk before the clock runs out. With cooperation from our Republican colleagues, the Senate can finish its work of keeping the government open as soon as tomorrow.
House Republican leaders are urging their members to oppose their stopgap bill, but it's still expected to pass the Democratic-led chamber. The legislation also includes funding to help families with heating and cooling costs amid rising consumer prices, aid to assist New Mexico in recovery from the most recent wildfire, and funding for water and infrastructure improvements in Jackson, Mississippi.
House Republican leaders are urging their members to oppose the stopgap bill, but it's still expected to pass the Democratic-led chamber. The legislation also includes funding to help families with heating and cooling costs and rising consumer prices, aid to assist New Mexico in recovery from the most recent wildfire, and funding for water and infrastructure improvements in Jackson, Mississippi. $3 billion is also included in this package for military assistance to Ukraine. Ohio Senator Rob Portman was key to securing the funds for Ukraine. Portman met with Ukraine parliament members this week, then went to the Senate floor to employ lawmakers to approve a new spending plan that would supply Ukraine with more weapons, which Portman says are being used effectively by Ukraine in their conflict. The United States would supply Ukraine with more high-mobility artillery rocket systems, which Portman says are superior to Russian artillery. The bill also includes funding for military assistance, training, and logistics support. American businesses are still adding workers. The Labor Department reports the number of first-time unemployment benefit claims tumbled to 193,000 last week. Weekly claims haven't fallen below 200,000 since May of this year, and the amount was much lower than the 215,000 applications forecasted by economics, according to Revfinity. Analysts say this shows companies are doing their best to hold on to workers as vacant positions remain high. Through the U.S., job markets remain strong. A researcher firm warns that a worldwide recession is likely on the horizon. According to a probability model run by Ned Davis researchers, this is about a 98% change of a global recession. The only other times the recession model was that high was during severe economic downturns, most recently in 2020 and during the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009. Most economics seem to agree, according to a report published Wednesday. The World Economic Forum said 7 out of the 10 economics consider a global recession at least somewhat likely. On the bright side, corporate profits are sturdying. Ned Davis researchers said although recession risks are rising, its U.S. recession probability model is still, quote, at rock bottom level. There are still hopes U.S. inflation will cool off in the coming months as supply catches up with demand and consumers continue to spend.
A new online payment service called Buy Now, Pay Later is gaining both popularity and concerns. The service allows you to pay for items in installments, and now federal regulators are considering stricter rules. Cole Higgins tells us why economists and experts are worried.
Buy now, pay later. It's an increasingly popular online payment option, but it's also gaining the attention of federal regulators and raising concerns from some economists.
I think buy now, pay later should be more highly regulated.
The services, which allow you to pay for items in installments, could soon face stricter rules. A recent report from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found the services are financially risky for consumers and should be regulated more like credit card companies. Economist Mark Zandi agrees and says those types of loans are often going to hard-pressed, low-income households.
They're particularly vulnerable and in many cases don't have the same kind of financial understanding that they might need to be able to really evaluate whether this is a good arrangement for them or not.
According to the report, Americans took out more than $24 billion in loans on buy now, pay later programs in 2021. That's up from only $2 billion in 2019. Financial experts warn you could rack up debt you can't afford to pay back because the services encourage you to buy extravagant items that you previously wouldn't be able to buy.
You're shopping online, you want a dress, you need a dress, but oh, you see this jacket, and oh, you see something else. The next thing you know, you spent more because you can pay it over time.
Most buy now, pay later companies charge late fees or start charging interest if you don't make payments on time. And missed payments may lead to them freezing your account, and your debt could be turned over to a debt collector. And sometimes those late payments are reported, which could impact credit score.
If you're not careful, you'll end up having a lot of these buy now, pay later contracts for stuff that you really don't need.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
Although the United States government hasn't taken any action yet across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom is already taking steps to regulate the buy now, pay later arrangements. Nelsonville York High School finishes major renovations to its training facilities. That story's still ahead.
And Hurricane Ian is currently eyeing that South Carolina eastern border. I'll talk about how this will affect our region in my full forecast, but for now, make sure you check us out on social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
It's one of the most challenging viruses scientists have ever faced.
HIV is very clever. The virus can mutate where medication stops working.
After decades of innovations,
The science it's developed is remarkable.
can we finally end the epidemic?
That is what I want to see in my lifetime, and I absolutely know I can.
Ending HIV in America.
We have the tools to stop it. Let's do it.
On Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
On Rivers of Life, discover the river that connects more countries than any other on Earth, the Danube. A river of magical surprises, of ancient kingdoms, and glorious riches. Journey down the Danube, Europe's great waterway. Rivers of Life, Wednesday on PBS and the PBS app.
PBS is proud to present the 35th Hispanic Heritage Awards. Join us as we celebrate Victoria Alonso, Los Lobos, Lieutenant Colonel Olga y Custodio, Ariana DeBose, Nicky La Rora, and Alejandro Velez, and Danny Yankee, with performances by Carlos Vives, Julieta Venegas, Bosa, Aime Nubiola, Hector Tellez Jr., and Peter Buck, and more. Hosted by Stephanie Beatriz. 35th Hispanic Heritage Awards premieres Friday, September 30th at 9/8 Central on PBS and the PBS app.
This street drove America toward revolution. This street fueled Western expansion. And this street paved the way for the shopping mall. Take a cross-country road trip on a historic highway. Walk a former Native American road. And hitch a ride on a 200-year-old toll road. 10 streets that changed America.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm your lead forecaster, Erin. We apologize for the brief technical difficulties that are occurring right now on your screen. There we are, perfect. And we're looking at temperatures right now of 67 degrees, mostly sunny skies, and that temperature will drop all the way to 42 degrees tonight. So be sure to grab your jacket if you are headed out and have any plans tonight. Looking at our radar, you can see there's not much happening in our area as of right now. Not even a little, we might be seeing a little bit of clouds, but again, mostly sunny skies. We're not tracking a chance for rain into tonight, so expect a beautiful night ahead. And even if we expand it a little bit to our regional radar, you are seeing that there really isn't much happening, making for a beautiful day heading into tonight. And again, that low is going to get pretty brisk, 42 degrees. And again, for the entirety of our region, we're tracking lows in the low 40s. So make sure you grab that coat and plan accordingly, because mostly clear skies in combination with that 42 degrees is going to feel very bitter. But overall, it's going to be a pretty beautiful night despite the cooler temperatures, of course. Looking at tomorrow's surface analysis, we're seeing high pressure up in the Canadian region. It's dominating in our area as well. It's actually going to be steering this system down here, Hurricane Ian, a little bit up towards the east. I'll tell you about that here in a second. But right now, that high pressure is going to bring us nice warmer temperatures in the upper 60s for the majority of our region. 69 will be the high here in Athens, mostly cloudy skies because we are tracking Hurricane Ian actually moving into our area heading into the weekend. I go ahead and pull up our visible satellite image. You can see Hurricane Ian right down here along the eastern United States is going to be pushing up into South Carolina and all the way up into our region, making for some really, really cloudy days and even a chance for rain over the weekend. Here's another look at that wonderful and horrific and devastating storm that we've seen wrecking Florida. And like I said, we're looking at high pressure for our area, and it's going to steer this storm up into the east a little bit. And if you look right here at the cone of probability, you can see that that track really start to get to the east and really steer that storm over to the east. Here's a look at your week ahead. That chance for rain will appear over the weekend, so plan accordingly. We're looking at a nicer week ahead, but I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Aiden.
Thanks, Aaron. One school is making major upgrades to its weight room facility. Newswatch reporter Ethan Sargent went to Nelsonville, York to check out the new upgrades.
Through the past weeks, Nelsonville York High School has recently made major renovations to their weight room facility. The project, starting in 2021, began with the idea being brought up to the Nelsonville York School Board. Nelsonville York went to a company called Rogue Fitness to supply them with all the weights, benches, and other equipment. 90% of the equipment made by Rogue is built in the state of Ohio. Noah Watkins, the assistant football coach for Nelsonville York, spearheaded the project.
Even in the summer, when we were working out with the old equipment, we were just showing them pictures of the stuff that's coming, and they were just really excited, even more into it. And even a couple of them were like, wow, if we can't get in the weight room now motivated by this, nothing's going to motivate us.
I've been waiting for it for a while since they took it down. I'm just glad to get back in here and start lifting again. Yeah, the possibilities now are endless for us. Each machine can do a whole lot for us and get us ready, before every season.
We got designed like a D1, weight room, and it looks like it, and it's nice, really nice.
Students are now available to access the weight room freely as the project nears completion. Students can also take a lifting class during the day. Athletic Director Jay Klein notes that the equipment is a crucial asset for a student athlete.
Well, it just kind of makes you want to smile, because you know that this is a great improvement for our student athletes, and not only for our student athletes, but our students here.
With athletics being a priority for the Nelsonville York School District, this upgrade's a high point for the school.
The weight room is almost complete, with only turf needed to be added to a selection of the room. Coming up in sports, Ohio soccer is taking on the Miami Redhawks in the Battle of the Bricks. Find out how they are faring when Newswatch returns.
It's one of the most challenging viruses scientists have ever faced.
HIV is very clever. The virus can mutate where medication stops working.
After decades of innovations,
The science that's developed is remarkable.
can we finally end the epidemic?
That is what I want to see in my lifetime, and I absolutely know I can.
Ending HIV in America
We have the tools to stop it. Let's do it.
on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
I'm jumping with joy right now.
On Finding Your Roots, actors Tony Danza
I do feel solid, like I have a history.
and Terry Crews,
I'm actually connected to my past.
ancestors who led hard scrabble lives,
Well, it wasn't even about livelihood, it was about eating.
struggling toward a better future.
Nobody ever talks about this in our school books. Man, this is a movie. This is a movie.
Finding Your Roots.
Tuesday at 8 on WOUB.
Next time from Antiques Roadshow, travel back to Palm Springs, California.
It's from Marilyn Monroe, and she wore it in the film Some Like It Hot.
This is an iconic dress from an iconic film.
Oh, there's no way.
I have to say, in all my years on the roadshow, it's probably the most exciting find I've had.
Can the values of our Desert Oasis finds stand the test of time? Find out next time on Antiques Roadshow Vintage Palm Springs, Hour 1.
Monday at 8 on WOUB.
On Rivers of Life, discover the river that connects more countries than any other on Earth, the Danube. A river of magical surprises, of ancient kingdoms, and glorious riches. Journey down the Danube, Europe's great waterway. Rivers of Life, Wednesday on PBS and the PBS app.
Ohio soccer searches for its first MAC win today in the Battle of the Bricks against the Miami Redhawks. That game just went final, and the Bobcats took it away with a 2-0 win. But going into the contest, the Bobcats came in trying to avoid 0-3 after dropping their first 2 games against 2 of the top teams in the MAC. Kent State is undefeated in conference play after it bounced OU in the MAC tournament a season ago, and Buffalo entered the season ranked 3rd by coaches around the conference. Miami entered the contest coming off a 3-0 shutout against the Central Michigan Chippewas. Ohio hockey is trending upward heading into the weekend. The Bobcats are perfect in 2022, sweeping their first series against the John Carroll Blue Streaks. The Alabama Frozen Tide comes to Athens trying to cool off Ohio's hot start in an alumni weekend homestand. Alabama finished 53rd out of 68 teams in the ACHA for Division I a season ago. The Frozen Tide already have 5 games under their belt in 2022 with a 3-2 record. The first of the 2 matchups takes place tonight in Bernarita at 7 p.m. Ohio field hockey faces a MAC opponent to start its weekend. The Bobcats kick off back-to-back games at Pruitt Field against Kent State. The Golden Flashes roll into town without a loss in MAC play, taking down Ball and App State in their first 2 games. Meanwhile, the Bobcats look to bounce back after a 3-0 loss to the VCU Rams. Game time is scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Ohio football opens up MAC play with a big road test against Kent State. It's an exciting matchup between the Bobcats' explosive offense and the Golden Flashes' lockdown defense. The Bobcats are fresh off their 59-point performance against the Fordham Rams. Meanwhile, Kent State comes off a close 39-22 loss against the #1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Tim Albin says the Golden Flashes' defense is a big challenge for the Bobcats. Albin said, quote, "They're going to be the best MAC defense I've probably seen at my time, close to maybe Western Michigan in 16, but they are very, very talented on the defensive side. Reports out of Georgia, I've been talking to coaches, and Kent's defense is the best they've seen to date." Kickoff to MAC play for the Bobcats is set for Saturday at 3:30 p.m. The Cincinnati Bengals are back home to take on the Miami Dolphins. The Jungle has a new look for the primetime game. Paycor Stadium has a white decal to match the white Bengal uniforms Joe Burrow and his squad will be wearing. The Athens County native says he doesn't care too much about how they look and would play in trash bags if needed. Cincinnati looks to improve to 500 and spoil the Dolphins' perfect 3-0 season. Kickoff for that one set for 8:15. That's all the time we have for sports. Now to Aaron with a final look at your weather.
Thank you, Aiden. And tonight in Athens, expect those temperatures to drop to the low 40s. It's going to be mostly clear, but definitely grab that jacket heading out the door, And tomorrow it's going to warm up to 69 degrees in the upper 60s for the majority of our region to the lower 70s. It's going to be a little bit on the warm side. It's going to be mostly cloudy, but it's actually going to be a very nice day tomorrow. And if we look at the week ahead, the 7-day shows that the remnants of Ian are actually expected to arrive heading into Saturday. 80% chance of rain. It's going to linger all the way through Monday. So again, if you have any weekend plans, make sure you grab that umbrella because Ian is on its way.
Now take a look at this. What you are seeing are photos from NASA's most recent mission. The Hubble and James Webb telescopes were pointed at the asteroid struck by the DART spacecraft on Monday. That marks the first time NASA was able to purposely crash into an asteroid and potentially change its trajectory. Images from the telescopes were taken before and after the crash, and it appears clouds of material were ejected from the asteroid after contact. Scientists will use information from both telescopes in order to learn more about the crash and its overall impact. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Emma Dolomere.
And for everyone here at Newswatch, I'm Aiden Crowley. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on our social medias. Have a good night.
When the car ended up having some mechanical problems where it was going to cost more to repair than the car was worth, we made the decision to donate it to public television. It was kind of a relief to finally have that car donated, and you'll feel good about yourself after they come and pick the car up. You've donated to a good cause.